Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo.
Yes. Which were all
those
done.
Ones were designed.
I'm coming. They were done that way.
Yes, those
go
were
back and see. If go back and see, and because even highways hasn't got the capacity. We don't even have the capacity. You understand? And we can't claim we created the capacity the last week. You haven't. I'm begging you, Minister. We have to. I'm not. Listen.
I agree with you.
We are together. Listen.
Yes, I'm saying a good conversation, but we need to find improvements that are being done, gradual as they may be, but they are being done. And I'm saying that,
Minister, the fact that you haven't done 44% in percentage terms, all right, is progress. So nobody is fighting. I'm saying that my problem with you is that we have a problem with them.
Yes.
And we sacked them. And you came. We wanted to see something more different. A proper reset. This is not reset.
Right.
This is not reset. You are practically just also justifying what you are doing by what you are also inheriting because of the methodology we are deploying. These projects, I agree with Minister that time, and you see, they are politicians. They also need to, NGM has only practically one term. So I can relate a bit to some of the agencies. But there are other control mechanisms to ensure the efficiencies. Look at our contractors, fantastic guys. Oswald, fantastic guy. Look at, we have built local capacity solidly. The truth is, all of them cannot carry all these major projects for all that well, they are big 5 or big 6 or whatever. You know, depending on the region you go. Jasmo is sitting there in the western region, and then he and then this other guy there. So I mean, there are limitations to what all of them can do. You may end up with the same contractors, but when you change your procurement strategy, you'll be able to shave off significant portions of the cost. If what I did in GHA then, in that analysis, is anything to go by, then I bet that the roads that you are building today should be able to give you 2 times that road. But when you do design and build EPCs, there's so much risk. You know that those people who took the contracts those days, today that we have changed the dollar situation, they are getting hit. When you are pricing that EPC thing, you have to make provisions for so many variables, which need not be. If you are properly designed, properly priced, competitively procured against rates. All right, again, rates against time, against a rate card benchmark, so that when there's a shift on the rate card, you know that it's applicable to a situation. Nobody will come and say, oh, we did it at 16, today it is 10, I've lost money. No. So I beg you, we have a problem with what has happened. And Martin, I hear you on the 44%, you know, but in economic terms, it's not every time that we discuss ratios. Because when you look at this, sometimes you also have to look at the absolute terms, all right? They have had an accumulated arrears of 20 billion. If we are talking about 44% in just this contract on 55, we're also talking roughly around 20 billion. If there's inefficiency in that 20 billion, it's just as good as what has happened. We shouldn't encourage them. I'm just saying that when we just talk about it in ratio terms, it's easy to hide real facts. Because we're not still talking about another 20 billion of a single source procurement structure, which I have proven to you that has proven to be inefficient. Then the other bit, last bit, Minister, you are talking about 20 billion. You have been one of the most intentional, as far as policy is concerned, over roads. Very intentional. You want to do big push. You've announced, you've sounded, and you are putting budget to it. The people who you've inherited it from gave you weight. You have spent X billion, whatever. Did they do what they did in compliance with the Public Financial Management Act, which actually requires full compliance with budgetary limits? Are you criminalizing, are you prosecuting people for the breach of the Public Financial Management Act, committing government beyond budget? I'm not hearing you say that. Because if you are not correcting that, that means you are planning to do that in future. Because that's what you've been doing. Setepe led this PFMAT because he wanted to correct these things. So you don't come and inherit an expenditure or an arrears that is not planned for. It's not that you don't have a dedicated fund. So a message right on that particular one is government money anyway. But people have breached the Public Financial Management Act. There's a budget ceiling and commitment that the former minister was supposed to make within those years. Did he comply or did he breach it?
Okay.
Did he go through a process of proper environment to actually move capex from one to the other? You and I know that the answer is no. What are you doing about it?
Okay. The Honorable Sini will have to leave us at some point. So you
That's why
respond
I'm finishing quickly.
So respond to the issues.
Look, it's a crime. You should be in jail for 6 months.
I agree with you that
people should be go to jail.
I agree with you that
we don't commit this country recklessly.
The PFMA was not respected in the past, and when we did the audit of some of the areas, it was heavily flagged, and there were some of the reasons why some of the claims were rejected. And you find it in the, Auditor General's report, which the Deputy Finance Minister even recently highlighted on the floor of Parliament. For not, going by the PFMA, some, claims were actually not honored by us when we're doing the payments. Now, you made reference to, some of the contracts that we inherited and how we could have, allowed new contractors to do the existing lots and all of that. But you see...
No, I mean, first thing is correct evaluating.
Yes, evaluating. I agree.
Efficiency in that pricing.
I agree. So what happened was that, I think my friend Mesha spoke about it earlier. Government had an obligation that it didn't meet. And the contractors were not on site. And so under that circumstance, when you inherit a government, you take on assets and liabilities. Under that circumstance, you were torn between cancelling the contract, like you said, advertising the remaining lot, and facing, prosecution. I mean, what do you call it? Legal suits. Lawsuits from the contractors. You were faced with that. Or you were faced with doing the practical thing, which we did, of assessing what was left and determining the capacity of the contractor and the willingness of the contractor not to even pursue interest, that for delayed payment, so that they could go. So we simply chose the practical way of resolving a problem that we met, so that we didn't have to prolong
the leakage is in the pricing.
Yes,
my brother, that's where the matter is. So I evaluated that.
So I'm saying that what we did was, for example, to learn lessons from it and also to refer it for other assessments.
Okay.
But when you look at the contracts that we package ourselves, the new contracts that we package ourselves. And that's why the point I made earlier, that I agree with you, that when we do part of the engineering works and we do not do this yellow book contracts and design and build that the contractors really love, we save the taxpayers' money. Because the problem, however, is that we do not have enough engineers around the country to do this.
Because politicians are just staffing the place with administrative people.
In this particular case, I'm telling you that most, or if not all, in fact, no, I can even say all.
It's
because
all,
there's no, apart from the one that we took over, there's no, in fact, some of the contractors today, the excuse they use for not going to site and working on some sections is because they say they don't have designs. Because the designs have to come from our engineers. We have instructed that our regional engineers, our engineers at the headquarters must lead the designing of these projects.
Right.
In some cases, yes, it has delayed even the progress of work, because we want to control the design, because we know when we do that, we reduce the cost of the projects. We just don't give the contractors the blank check to cash on us. Now, that I'm sure is going to guarantee efficiency.
Then, is it a suggestion that the design is being done post the awards?
No. I mean, it is.
That'll be the effective.
No. What I'm saying is that what I'm saying is that, you see, some of the things that we did to fast track these projects, I have already explained to you. Some we finished the designs before even the contractors moved to site.
Right.
Others were already engineered roads, and so it didn't really need much engineering. Maybe you just needed to widen the width, and so that was already done, and then.
But those are also roads engineered by contractors. This is the problem.
No, I mean, not all of them. Some of them are already engineered by the contractors.
While you round up,
so the point has to be made that we did everything to improve upon the situation that we inherited, and the facts are there for any fair-minded person to look at. The assurance we give is that we are not saying we have arrived. We are saying that we will continue to improve upon the situation that we came to meet. We will not rest on our oars until we are satisfied that there is efficient and judicious use of the public funds. And we will at every point in time subject ourselves to open scrutiny. And we commend the Fourth Estate for this attempt at scrutinizing what we are doing. All we seek from them is fairness. All we seek from them is an open-minded conversation that will also take into consideration the efforts that we are putting in to improve upon, the things that we inherited. We are all concerned. But like I said, when the conversation starts by labeling, an improvement as a condemnation, for example, the ministry that has become, a factory for producing sole sauce. When the facts doesn't support that, when it's pointed to you, humbly, acknowledge that. Because when you also point things to us that we find wrong, we will also humbly acknowledge and like we are doing this one and make progress. So I think that going forward, we must be guided by the things that we all say and the things that we all do, all in the interest of Ghana and the love that we have for it and the expectation of the better things we all expect each other to do. I can assure you, His Excellency President Mahama is committed to executing these projects within 24 months, and by the end of 2027, we should see most of these roads being completed. And maybe finally, Alfred, the other issue of costs per kilometer, has come up. And I'm very happy with the way my brother Senor has handled this matter. I mean, cost per kilometer is not simplistically, dealt with the way, again, my friends at the Fourth Estate are dealing with it. I mean, they take the contract sum and they simply divide it by the number of kilometers, without taking into consideration if it's a single lane road, if it's a dualized road, if the terrain is the same. I mean, they just miss all the factors that are considered in calculating cost per kilometer and make it look like it's a simple arithmetic of divider by. I mean, it's not the case. I mean, with all due respect, and I think that they have to acknowledge that. And if you look around the world, I mean, the cost per kilometer is not fixed anywhere. Right. But there are projections between $500,000 to, in some cases, $10 million.
Again,
cost per kilometer.
This is where design comes.
Permitted.
This is where design comes.
Yes.
There are different ways to get to the same destination.
Yeah.
If you decide, as a contractor, if I'm the one giving the chance, I would go to the place that makes me get a lot more money, a bigger contract, because you give me design and build.
Thank you.
But sometimes it's okay to go around the mountain. Right. An extra half a kilometer will save us from trying to break through a mountain and create a tunnel, which will cost you more. You understand? So that's why we, as a country, must lead that charge. You need to make the right investment in the Highways Authority, the Roads Authority that has still not been, that you pass a law and you can't implement today. Urban roads is sitting directly, it's a department under the ministry. It's not
there's a question to you about when the road tolls are going to be implemented. Quite a number of people have.
Our commitment is to reintroduce it this year. And to be honest with you, Alfred, one of the reasons why it is delaying is because we are doing competitive bidding. Okay. It is the major reason why it is delaying. Okay. In fact, it has taken us from last year. We are almost at the tail end of it.
It doesn't serve as a source of traffic again.
No, the intention is to make it. But there's
this point I want us to clarify. The matter just 30 seconds.
So thank you so much.
Please, let Mr. please.
I don't think that you will have anything that I need to respond to.
So. No, but there's a point which I think is important.
Okay. Right.
I think that one of the key lessons we can pick out of this is that our political class should be cautious. And I align with Lawyer Mesa when he raised certain issues. We should be careful not to weaponize or demonize technical terms and concepts because it will come to haunt us. And I think that even in the discussion today, we have continued to use the issue of single source in a manner that is likely to continue to cause confusion.
Yes.
Because that is why he says we will then conclude that, the 50 billion is an increase in corruption. But you have legal basis on which you can do single source. And I want to encourage the ministry, just go and tag, because there are 6 options. So every single source you have had to do, is it under A, B, C, D, E, or F? So that all of us will say, it falls under the law. So that we don't have this banter of, corruption is increasing. Because it will continue that way if we don't cure it now. Precisely. I want to bring that also to what my brother Senor was saying. And saying, listen, it appears to me, therefore, that let's look at the legal framework. if there are efficiencies or risks that we have identified, build it into the law so that we cure it. So that the abuse that the government was talking about, let's say under NDC, what is that abuse we are frightened about? How do we work it into the law so that we are able to cure it? So I like the issue of efficiency. Let our law take on board the issues that came up in the paper. Yeah. Maybe that's a discussion we should have on a platform. Bring it back, make sure the law covers it, the LI covers it, and going forward we can deal with the issue. Otherwise, these politicians, with the energy they are showing in the middle here, will continue to knock our heads together.
Parties, don't trust them.
There are two parties. They'll continue to knock our heads. So Lawyer Mensah has a genuine point when he says that the way in which we spoke about it in the past, it may be on political platforms we thought was, and by the way, it will come to the conflict of the same thing. When politicians begin to, maneuver around and weaponize terms, then we start knocking our heads. So let's look at this much more critically. If there's a way to cure the law to make sure that we all understand single source means this, it's being done legitimately by this government. Put the clauses that justify each of them. So whether it's 108, we can clearly.
But the truth is, I said, look, the only thing that's moving this government on this thing is time. They have to do it before their GM is out. It's the only thing. Let me tell you what happened to me. Let me tell you what happened to me. So after my first term, then it was towards the end of my term, I started my movement because I had understood the thing. And then the 2020, they sent me a letter that I'm no more a board member. All right.
When was this?
Yeah, this was in 2020, the early part of 2020, because the term is 3 years. Yeah. Then they wrote to PEF again that they wanted me. PEF said they still were nominating me back onto the board. It took them 3 years to write the letter to appoint me. They inaugurated a whole new board without me because that nonsense would not be allowed to continue.
What does Honorable Suhuyini have to respond to so that quickly?
No. I'm just saying the political talk about it. Yes, let's stick to the legal definition. That is what Lawyer Mensah is saying. I'm saying he's right. Let's agree that we'll go back and look at single source. As you put the number of contracts you're awarding, just identify which part of the law it comes under. So that when Fourth Estate is writing their thing, they can then refer to the law. All of us will be consistent. Then we don't have that confusion. And then Lawyer Mensah will not come back and say that they had the text, but they intentionally, ignore the text and we're trying to suggest that we are being corrupt. Can the politicians just agree on this for us so that we have a cleaner understanding of the issues going forward? I think that's important.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And I appreciate that. I agree with him. I mean that, look, sometimes too, it is not us, the politicians. I must be honest with you. I have had these conversations, not on record, on set, with many people that sometimes the understanding differ. I mean, I was told by my grandfather that when you are speaking to the public, 3 different categories of people are listening to you. Those smarter than you are listening to you. Those you are smarter than are listening to you, and maybe those that you have equal IQ are also listening to you. 3 categories of people, and each of them will interpret what you say differently, and they're entitled to their understanding of what you say. So sometimes it is not more about what we the politicians say, but it is also about how what we say is interpreted. Please. Let me finish. So for example, when we talk about sole-sourcing, and we spoke about sole-sourcing, you read our text. Yes, I mean there are extremes where you can say that people went and said, "Oh, we'll cancel it." But when you read the text communicates differently from maybe what somebody was expecting.
So you need to define what the abuse is.
So exactly, we define what the abuse
is. What is it?
I mean, for example, we talked about the abuse, the one-time use of it. The fact that
it's not available. What's the abuse? They need to define it.
Before now, it was the norm. When it is supposed to be an exception. So it was the norm.
You see, but that is difficult. So this is what you say 44% is still almost a norm and not an exception.
No, I mean
20 billion.
Hold on.
You need to define that.
Let's listen to one person.
It's still like a norm. It's not an exception.
Look, when you take the Auditor General reports in the past, they made references to some of these, sole source contracts or single source contracts that were found to have been inflated. We use that in our communications, and we said that we're going to make sure that it is used sparingly It is used in exceptional circumstances as the law prescribes.
And
we are making the effort. I'm not saying we have gotten there, but clearly there is evidence from all the narration that we are making the effort at actually ensuring that it becomes an exception. Even if this exception, if this exception is not effort enough, I agree. But it will be unfair to ignore that effort, even if it is not enough.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Because this is, if you reference the text and the interpretation given to it, this is page 6, the specific text in the manifesto. And I think it is important with the enforcement of the compliance with the PP, that's a public procurement law, to stop the abuse. And you asked about the definition and of sole-sourcing and
I said that the abuse is when it becomes the norm instead of the exception.
Right.
When you have 100 and all 100 is single source, then you say that is.
But it's not the case. It's not the case that everything the old government was done.
I'm telling you,
from 2021.
The records are from 2021. From 2021,
it took me a while to come back.
So maybe you don't know.
I don't know about that.
I was hoping that you would have taken a cue from.
I think 2 years suspension.
I'm not disagreeing with him.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And stop the politicking.
Thank you,
my brother.
Now,
Because you see, are you moving on?
yes, we have to.
Very well, no problem. This man, I'll get him again.
I wanted one comment, 30 seconds.
Quickly,
You know,
because
this matter of dedicated funds or not dedicated funds, I thought that it makes sense that when you have dedicated funds, it's easier to pay. But this statement by Mercer is saying that is the general pool, it's all government of Ghana funds and you can pay. It doesn't.
But what's the
This is public finance. This is public finance.
Yes.
I'm saying, you see,
yes,
the allocations are made.
Yes.
Before we had APFA and all that come in. In all honesty, we're still doing roads.
Yeah.
So it's an intentional allocation within your budget.
Yes.
You can decide to use APFA for roads. You can decide not to use it for roads, use it for something else.
And Parliament has decided now that it will be used for roads.
So it is inconsequential.
You know, that is where
the comfort you get,
Thank you.
is actually the allocation of stream. What we are saying is that the decision is a government decision, all coming from government budget.
Yes, but you see, when you have the dedicated funds, it's easier so that you know that, listen, we have X amount of money. So anytime a contractor presents a certificate, you know that, okay, there's money, you pay. But when it's the general pool, it's not the same. You remember when NDC came?
That's why there's a whole process.
No, let's come. Thank you. Wait. When NDC came, there were 6 projects. The gang of 6, they called. Accra, this Medina, the other.
Yes.
You see, they didn't see where to find money to pay. It was difficult.
You fund it from the revenue of government.
Those ones you are seeing, they are required under the law.
Thank you.
You must tell the country what you use the APFA for.
Why is it APFA? That's the annual budget funding amount. That's the oil money.
The oil money.
Yes.
That's why.
In fact, with those instances.
Yes, so it's better. So what I'm saying is that when you have the dedicated, I think it is better. Yes. It's
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Appreciate it. And the Public Interest Accountability Committee always looks into how the ABFA is used. So it's one that. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. The Honorable Al-Hassan Suhuyini has had to leave us to attend to other matters as well. But a number of your messages, some of which I've asked in questions as well, so we've got answers to them. Kojochu Mboafo, the Financial Intelligence Center boss, as the CEO, sent a message. He says, Alfred, as a civil engineer of 33 years, I sincerely believe that it is improper for road and designs to be done by the client agencies. The practice should be projects advertised, consultants hired, designs done, contracts advertised, consultants hired under proper procurement procedures to hire contractors to do the job under proper supervision on behalf of the client agency. The client agency should not be in the business of supervising their own projects. When medical officers are ill, they don't do surgeries themselves. Even the most accomplished lawyers hardly represent themselves in court. Please ask Martin Bebu, he will tell you. That's a fact, gentlemen. I have 2 lawyers here, so they concur. In fact, 3. Yeah? 2. Okay, all This one also here says, Alfred, some of us are getting... Oh. Is it the usual politics as usual towards the winning 2028 general elections? When are we going to have one voice towards nation building? It says, you just left power and couldn't see the mess in your backyard, but now seeing and pointing out the so-called wrongs in this government, you say, Papa Bishu, thank you for your message.
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.